close your eyes for a moment and imagine a city where every building, every street, and every dollar is made of glass. In this city, everyone can see what you earn, what you spend, and what you owe. There are no secrets here. Your bank account is a transparent box sitting on a pedestal, and the tax man, well, he has the master key. This is the world you were born into. This is the world of the visible class. You work, you receive a paycheck, you pay your share, and you wonder why the math never seems to add up. You wonder why, despite your hard work, the ceiling never seems to move. But now, I want you to look closer. Look into the long shadows cast by those glass towers. They're tucked away in the corners of the global economy are buildings made of mirrors. You can see them, but you cannot see into them. The people who enter these buildings seem to live by a different set of physics. They drive cars they don't legally own. They live in mansions they didn't technically buy. They grow wealthier every time the sun sets. And yet, their official income, on paper, is zero. Welcome to the world of ghost money. This isn't a conspiracy theory, and it isn't a story about criminals hiding in dark alleys. This is a story about architecture. It is a story about a hidden geometry of wealth that exists right in front of your eyes, yet remains invisible to the untrained mind. We are opening the door to the mirrored buildings. We are going to perform a clinical autopsy on the strategies used by the elite to stay invisible. We are going to decode the buy, borrow, die strategy, the magic of the shell company, and the silent power of the Perpetual trust. By the end of this journey, you will realize that the game you've been playing is rigged, because you've been playing with glass, while they have been playing with ghosts. Welcome to ValtR. Let's look inside the vault. Section 1. The mirage of ownership. Most people believe that the ultimate sign of wealth is owning things. A big house in your name, a car with your signature on the title, a bank account with your social security number attached. To the architect of ghost money, this is the ultimate amateur mistake. In the world of the elite, ownership is a liability. If you own something, it can be taxed. If you own something, it can be seized in a lawsuit. If you own something, it is visible to the system. The first rule of the 1% is simple: control everything, but own nothing. Imagine a billionaire. Let's call him the architect. The architect lives in a $20 million estate in the hills. But if you look at the public records, he doesn't live there. The house is owned by an anonymous land trust. That trust is owned by a limited liability company in Delaware. That company is owned by a holding company in the Cayman Islands. And that holding company is owned by a private family foundation. The architect lives in the house. He sleeps in the master bedroom, but on paper, he is just a guest or a consultant for the entity that owns the walls. When the taxman comes looking for property taxes or wealth transfers, he finds a web of legal ghosts. The architect has all the benefits of the wealth, with none of the visibility of the ownership. He is a ghost in his own mansion. Section 2. The buy, borrow, die strategy. But how do they actually spend money? If they have no income, how do they pay for the private jets and the 5-star dinners? This brings us to the most powerful ritual in the vault: the buy, borrow, die strategy. When you want to buy something, you use your income. You work an hour, you get $40, you pay $15 in tax, and you spend the rest. You are taxed at the point of entry. The elite do it differently. They don't have paychecks. They have assets, stocks, real estate, fine art. They buy these assets and hold them for decades. As the assets grow in value, they don't sell them. Why? Because the moment you sell an asset, you trigger a capital gains tax. The system takes its cut. Instead, they borrow. The architect goes to a private bank and says, "I have $100 million in stock. I don't want to sell it. I want a loan against it." Because the architect is wealthy, the bank gives him a loan at a tiny interest rate, perhaps 2 or 3%. Here is the magic trick. Loans are not considered income. You don't pay tax on a loan. The architect now has $10 million in cash to spend on his lifestyle. He pays 2% interest to the bank, while his assets are growing at 7 or 10% in the market. He is effectively getting paid to spend money. He spends his life borrowing against his growing fortune, living like a king while technically being broke on his tax return. And the final step, D. When the architect passes away, his assets receive what is called a step-up in basis. The value is reset for his heirs. The old taxes are wiped clean, and the cycle begins again. The debt is paid off by the estate, and the children start the game from a higher floor. No income tax, no capital gains tax, just ghost money. Section 3. The geometry of the shell to make the system work. You need a place to hide the ghost. You need the shell. A shell company is a legal entity that exists only on paper. It has no employees, no office, and no product. It is a vessel, a box designed to hold value and obscure the identity of the person holding the string. Think of it like a Russian nesting doll. You open one, and there is another inside. You open that one, and there is another. By the time a regulator or a creditor reaches the center, they are thousands of miles away from the person they are looking for. These shells are often placed in tax havens, jurisdictions like the British Virgin Islands, Panama, or even certain states within the US like Wyoming and South Dakota. These places offer financial secrecy as a product. They are the mirrored buildings we spoke of earlier. In these jurisdictions, the names of the owners are not public record. You can move millions of dollars across borders, buy gold, buy crypto, buy land, and the world only sees the name of the shell. This is how the elite move their wealth through the back channels of the global economy, shifting capital like shadows across a wall, always one step ahead of the light. Section 4. The silent power of the trust. The final piece of the architecture is the perpetual trust. If a shell is a box, a trust is a fortress. It is a legal arrangement where a third party, the trustee, holds assets on behalf of a beneficiary. But the most sophisticated trusts are irrevocable. Once the architect puts his wealth into an irrevocable trust, he no longer owns it. Legally, it is gone. If he gets sued, the lawyers can't touch the trust. If he goes through a divorce, the assets are safe. The trust is a separate legal person that never dies, never gets sick, and never pays an inheritance tax. In places like South Dakota, trusts can now last for 1,000 years. This is the birth of the dynastic wealth. It is a pool of money that exists outside of time, growing, compounding, and funding a family for 10 generations, all while remaining invisible to the standard tax codes of the visible class. The trust is the ultimate ghost. It has the power of a king, but no body to imprison. The exit from the glass city. You might be sitting there, feeling a sense of weight. Feels unfair, doesn't it? But at ValtR, we don't deal in fair. We deal in forensics. The reason you are trapped in the glass city isn't because you aren't working hard enough. It's because you are using an outdated blueprint. You are focused on earning, while the elite are focused on architecting. You are focused on ownership, while they are focused on control. To escape the glass city, you must begin to change your geometry. You must stop thinking in terms of paychecks and start thinking in terms of entities. You must stop building your life in your own name and start building it behind the mirrored glass. This journey is not easy. It requires a total reconstruction of how you view money, law, and time. But the first step is simply seeing the walls. Once you see the mirrored buildings, you can never go back to being just a resident of the glass city. The vault is open, the ghosts are real, and the architecture is waiting for its next designer. If you are ready to stop playing with glass and start mastering the shadows, then you belong here. In our next investigation, we will go even deeper into the tax-free empire, showing you the exact steps to begin your own asset pivot. Subscribe to ValtR. Join the 1%. Stay ahead of the margin. This is ValtR.